Hey everyone, I am sending an email out right now to address tomorrow's meeting. And tomorrow's meeting will be prep for your first formal reflection session. So what does that mean? That means that you have all the directions in your email and we will not meet as a large group. Instead, I will be available at 11 as usual for questions and answers. So those of you taking the SAT tomorrow do not need to worry about checking in with me. You do need to read the email and hopefully watch this video to see if you have any questions. So here's the email that is going out, and it reminds you that your action item for tomorrow will be to send an email to your supervisor arranging the session before April 23rd. Per the instructions in EE9, your reflection needs to be completed by April 23rd. So I want to take a second to show you what that looks like. Now, it's important that you review all of the slides from last week. Some of them have been proofread this time and a couple of details have been added, as well as this page on how to reflect. Your reflection is a little bit tricky, and here's why. So when you go to my website, you notice you have research here and you have your extended essay resource page. What I want to point out, besides all of the tools that you hopefully have been using, is that I've added this little screenshot of what the reflection space looks like. So while it might be hard to see on Zoom, you should know that once you click on your extended essay, you have a worksheet, reflection space, assessment, and then your PPF, sometimes referred to as RPPF, because we talk about reflections, planning, and progress form from the former days. So once you meet with your supervisor, that means after you've met with your supervisor, you're expected to fill this out, and you only have 500 words for all three combined. Your supervisor does not fill out anything until the very end after you have your viva voce, and we'll talk about that later. So you want to be evaluative and descriptive. You want to acknowledge your struggle, changes, or challenges, right? If you started in one area and changed to another, go ahead and include that. And then you'll want to make sure that you date it and include your graduation year. Okay. You will click save. Your supervisor will lock it once they look at it. And that really means that you need to check some of these notes here. Okay, so the how to reflect tab takes you to this person's recommendations that I think are excellent, right? We want to see that you've gone through the thinking process. We want to see that you've taken time to look at your subject area guides and keep in mind the specific requirements. And you want to be evaluative of yourself. Did you find it challenging to commit? Did you have a hard time getting started, looking for sources? They love looking at the process. So it's absolutely okay to let IB know where you found challenges. Reminder that this is all for the Criterion E engagement session. And so to earn 5 or 6 points in this section, which should be seemingly easy, we want to make sure that the reflections communicate a high degree of intellectual and personal engagement with the research and focus. So this first one is really just about how you're getting started, and eventually you'll get into the process of engagement with the research. Okay, so decision-making reflections should be evaluative and include reference to the student's capacity to consider actions and ideas in response to challenges. So you really want to make sure that you're not just writing a bunch of fluff. Okay, so for tomorrow, that is what you are doing. You are preparing. That first meeting, I'm already expecting that my student's going to send me an email. Hey, Miss Snow, I'm ready to reach out and plan my first formal reflection with you. I've sent you a Google folder that has the citations in it, the questions that we will be discussing during our first formal reflection from last week's EE assignment, along with other documents that I feel are appropriate for our discussion. Remember that when you email your supervisor, you should offer some dates. You don't just leave it open-ended. Let your supervisor then respond. Hopefully you'll commit to a date, put it in your calendar, set a reminder, and address whether or not you want to set up the Zoom, or if your teacher already has an office hours Zoom that might be easier to access. Okay, all things to consider that in person we would not have to remember to do. So I hope that that feels comfortable for you. Again, tomorrow you do not need to meet with me if you feel comfortable with this level of material. I will be available on Zoom at 11 as usual for questions, and if that is working for you to carve out that time to work on your extended essay, I want to make sure that you still have that time. And I look forward to seeing those of you who can make it tomorrow. Otherwise, good luck on the SAT, and I will see you after spring break.